After 3 years of sacrifice, my husband's father, the boss, gave the promotion to his niece, who'd only been there 8 weeks. I handed in my resignation with a calm smile. Congrats to Sophie, I said. When my father-in-law read my letter, he lost it. You can't be serious, he shouted, his face turning red. Attention, everyone. Gregory's voice boomed across the conference room as he raised his champagne glass. I'm thrilled to announce our new regional director, my brilliant niece, Sophie Bennett. The applause erupted around me, but I couldn't move. My hand stayed frozen in my lap while everyone else clapped enthusiastically. 8 weeks. Sophie had been here exactly 8 weeks, and she was getting the position I'd been promised for 3 years. I forced my mouth into what I hoped looked like a smile and brought my hands together in slow, deliberate claps. The sound felt hollow, like everything else in that moment. Gregory's eyes met mine briefly across the table, and I saw something flicker there. Guilt, maybe, or defiance. Either way, he looked away quickly. Victoria has been such a wonderful mentor to Sophie already, he continued, his voice carrying that patronizing tone I'd grown to despise. I know she'll continue to support our new director in any way she can. Support. The word tasted bitter in my mouth. 3 years of 60-hour weeks. 3 years of missing family dinners to close deals. 3 years of building this department from 12 employees to 47. And now I was supposed to support someone else stepping into my role? Before we continue, I want to thank you for joining me in sharing these stories that matter. If you believe that loyalty should be valued over family politics in the workplace, please consider subscribing. It's free and helps us reach more women who need to hear this. Now, let's see how this unfolds. Sophie stood up, her blonde hair perfectly styled, her designer suit crisp and expensive. She couldn't have been more than 28, fresh out of business school with her MBA and daddy's connections. Thank you so much, Uncle Gregory. I'm really excited to learn from Victoria's expertise as we transition into this new phase. Learn from my expertise. Transition? The corporate speak made my stomach churn. This wasn't a transition. This was a takeover. After the meeting dispersed, I walked back to my office on unsteady legs. My nameplate still read Victoria Reed, Senior Operations Manager, but it felt like a lie now. I'd been passed over, and everyone in that room knew it. Some looked sympathetic, others avoided eye contact entirely. Diana from accounting patted my shoulder as she walked by, whispering, "I'm so sorry, honey." I closed my office door and sat behind my desk, staring at the wall where I'd hung my Employee of the Year certificates. 3 of them, one for each year I'd been here. Fat lot of good they'd done me. My phone buzzed with a text from Marcus, my husband. How did the announcement go? Finally official? I stared at the message for a long time before typing back. We'll talk tonight. The rest of the day passed in a blur of forced normalcy. I answered emails, reviewed reports, attended meetings where people kept shooting me looks of pity mixed with embarrassment. By 5 o'clock, my jaw ached from maintaining that fake smile. Gregory appeared in my doorway just as I was packing up. Victoria, could I have a word? Of course. I gestured to the chair across from my desk, the same chair where he'd sat 3 months ago, promising me this promotion was just a formality. He settled his large frame into the seat, his silver hair catching the overhead light. I know today was difficult for you. Was it? I kept my voice level, professional. Look, you're incredibly valuable to this company. Sophie's going to need someone with your experience to help her get up to speed. I'm hoping you'll take on a senior advisory role, too. Train her to do my job. Help her succeed in her new position, he corrected. But we both knew what he meant. I leaned back in my chair, studying this man who'd been my father-in-law for 8 years. I'd always respected Gregory, admired his business acumen, appreciated how he'd welcomed me into the family. But sitting there, watching him try to spin this betrayal into some kind of opportunity, I felt something cold settle in my chest. Gregory, can I ask you something? Of course. 3 months ago, you told me this promotion was mine. You said I'd earned it, that no one deserved it more. What changed? He shifted uncomfortably, his hands fidgeting with his wedding ring. Business needs evolved. Sophie brings fresh perspective, new ideas. 8 weeks of fresh perspective versus 3 years of proven results. Victoria, you're taking this too personally. Too personally? I almost laughed. This is my career. We're talking about my life. How else should I take it? Your family, he said, as if that explained everything. Family looks out for each other. Sophie needed this opportunity, and frankly, you're secure here. You don't need the promotion like she does. There was the real truth. I was family, which meant I was expected to sacrifice for the good of everyone else. I was supposed to be grateful for the scraps, content with being dependable Victoria, who'd always be there to clean up everyone else's messes. I see. I stood up, gathering my purse and jacket. Well, I should get home. Marcus is making dinner tonight. Gregory looked relieved at the change of subject. Give my son my love, and Victoria, I really do appreciate your understanding about all this. I nodded and walked out, my heels clicking against the marble floor of the lobby. Understanding. That's what he called it when someone rolled over and accepted being stabbed in the back. The drive home felt endless. Traffic crawled along the highway, giving me too much time to think. I kept replaying Gregory's words, his casual dismissal of 3 years of my life. Family looks out for each other. Except when it came to looking out for me, apparently. By the time I pulled into our driveway, the sun was setting. Marcus's car was already there, and I could see warm light glowing from our kitchen windows. Home had always been my sanctuary, the place where I could shed the corporate mask and just be myself. But tonight, even that felt tainted. How could I face Marcus and tell him his father had just destroyed my career with a smile and a champagne toast? I sat in the car for another 5 minutes, watching our neighbors walk their dogs and water their gardens. Normal people living normal lives, unaware that my world had just shifted completely off its axis. Tomorrow, I'd have to walk back into that office and pretend everything was fine. I'd have to train my replacement with grace and professionalism, all while my heart broke a little more each day. But tonight, I just needed to sit in this car and feel the full weight of what had happened. Tomorrow, I'd figure out what came next. Marcus had already set the table when I finally walked through the front door. The smell of his famous lasagna filled the kitchen, but for the first time in years, I had no appetite. He took one look at my face and immediately pulled out a chair. Sit down. Tell me everything. So I did. I told him about the champagne toast, about Gregory's casual dismissal of my 3 years, about being expected to train my own replacement. Marcus's jaw tightened with each detail, his knuckles white as he gripped his wineglass. Dad actually said you were secure here, so you didn't need the promotion? His voice carried a dangerous edge I rarely heard. Word for word. Marcus pushed back from the table, running his hands through his dark hair. I'm calling him right now. No. I reached across and grabbed his wrist. This isn't your fight, honey. It's mine. But the damage was done. The conversation I dreaded having was over, and now Marcus was furious at his own father. Another casualty of Gregory's decision. The next morning, I walked into the office with a fake smile plastered on my face, ready to begin what Gregory called my mentoring role. Sophie bounced into my office at 9 sharp, carrying a notebook and wearing an expression that could only be described as aggressively cheerful. Victoria, Uncle Gregory said you'd help me get oriented. I'm so excited to learn from you. I gestured to the chair across from my desk, the same chair where Gregory had delivered his blow yesterday. Of course, let's start with an overview of the department structure. For the next 2 hours, I walked Sophie through processes I'd developed, client relationships I'd built, and systems I'd implemented. She took notes dutifully, occasionally interrupting with questions that revealed just how little she understood about operations management. So, when you say we need to maintain a 3-week lead time on supplier orders, is that like set in stone? Because I was thinking we could maybe try 2 weeks to save costs. I took a slow breath. The 3-week timeline accounts for quality control checks, shipping delays, and buffer stock. Cutting it to 2 weeks would risk stockouts that could cost us major clients. Oh, she blinked at me. I guess that makes sense. This was my life now. Explaining fundamental concepts to someone who thought her MBA made her an expert, while my years of actual experience were being treated as training materials for my replacement. By lunch, I needed air. I grabbed my purse and headed for the parking garage, planning to eat in my car just to escape the suffocating atmosphere. Diana caught up with me at the elevator. Victoria, wait. She glanced around to make sure we were alone. I just wanted to say, what happened to you is complete bullshit. We all know it. Thanks, Diana. I appreciate that. I mean it. Half the department is already updating their resumes. If Gregory thinks he can treat people like this without consequences, he's deluded. The elevator dinged and she stepped in beside me. For what it's worth, I've started looking too. I've been here 9 years, and if loyalty doesn't matter, then why am I staying? Her words stayed with me through lunch and the rest of that interminable day. Diana wasn't wrong. If Gregory could discard 3 years of my dedication so casually, what message did that send to everyone else? That evening, Marcus met me at the door with a glass of wine and a determined expression. I talked to Dad today. My heart sank. Marcus, I asked you not to. I know, but I needed to understand his reasoning. And honestly, Victoria, it's worse than you thought. I followed him to the living room, sinking into the couch with my wine. Worse how? He actually believes he's doing you a favor. He said, Victoria has everything she needs. A secure job, family support, a husband who provides well. Sophie needs this opportunity to prove herself. The wine turned sour in my mouth. So I'm supposed to sacrifice my ambitions because my husband can support me. Basically. Marcus looked disgusted. I told him he was being sexist and short-sighted, that you'd earned that position 10 times over. Do you know what he said? I shook my head, almost afraid to hear it. He said, your wife will understand. She's family. Family makes sacrifices. There it was again. That word. Family. The excuse for every slight, every betrayal, every time I was expected to smile and accept less than I deserved. I set down my wineglass with careful precision. I'm going to resign. Marcus's eyes widened. Victoria, I mean it. I've spent 3 years building something I'm proud of, only to watch it handed to someone who hasn't earned it. I'm not going to stick around to train my replacement and pretend I'm grateful for the opportunity. What will you do? I don't know yet, but anything is better than staying somewhere I'm undervalued. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, my mind racing with possibilities and fears. Walking away from Harrison Enterprises meant leaving behind stability, benefits, and the salary I'd worked hard to achieve. But staying meant accepting that I would never be more than dependable Victoria, always passed over for someone with better connections. By morning, my decision was made. I spent an hour crafting my resignation letter, making it professional and gracious, despite the anger burning in my chest. 2 weeks' notice, no explanations, no emotional outbursts, just clean, simple, done. I printed the letter, placed it in a crisp envelope, and walked into Gregory's office at 10 a.m. Victoria, what's this? He looked at the envelope I placed on his desk as if it might bite him. My resignation, 2 weeks' notice, effective immediately. His face went from confused to shocked to red with anger in the span of seconds. You can't be serious. I'm completely serious. But we need you. Sophie needs you. You can't just leave. I met his gaze steadily. You made it very clear that I'm easily replaceable. Consider this me taking you at your word. Victoria, please be reasonable. We can work something out. A raise, maybe? Better benefits? It's not about money, Gregory. It's about respect. And you've shown me exactly how much you respect my contributions. I turned and walked out, leaving him sputtering in his office. By the time I reached my desk, the sense of freedom was already starting to replace the anxiety. I was actually doing this. I was walking away. The news spread through the office like wildfire. By noon, 3 people had stopped by to congratulate me, whispering that I was doing what they all wished they had the courage to do. Diana brought me coffee and a knowing smile. You're my hero, she said simply. Sophie appeared in my doorway around 2, looking genuinely distressed. Victoria, is it true? Are you really leaving? Yes, Sophie, I am. But I need you. How am I supposed to do this job without you? I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. You have an MBA and your uncle's full confidence. I'm sure you'll figure it out. Can't you stay just a little longer? Maybe a month instead of 2 weeks? No, Sophie, I can't. She left, and I heard her voice rising in Gregory's office moments later. The shouting lasted for 20 minutes. When she emerged, her face was blotchy and red. The last 2 weeks at Harrison Enterprises were surreal. Gregory alternated between trying to convince me to stay and pretending I didn't exist. Sophie grew increasingly panicked as she realized the depth of knowledge I possessed that she didn't. And my colleagues treated me like someone who'd just announced they were moving to Paris, part envious, part admiring, wholly fascinated. On my last day, I cleaned out my office, took down my certificates, and packed up 3 years of my professional life into 2 cardboard boxes. Diana helped me carry them to my car, her eyes suspiciously bright. "You're going to do amazing things," she said, hugging me tight. "So are you," I replied. "Don't stay here forever, Diana. You're worth more than this place." Driving away from that building for the last time, I felt lighter than I had in months. The fear was still there, lurking in the background, but it was overshadowed by something else. Hope. The job search started immediately. I updated my resume, reached out to contacts, and began networking with a vengeance. 3 weeks later, I had an interview at Apex Solutions, a tech company that was making waves in our industry. The interview was with Jennifer Cole, their VP of Operations. She was sharp, direct, and refreshingly honest about what the role entailed. "I'll be blunt," she said, halfway through our conversation. "We need someone who can come in and fix a mess. Our systems are outdated, our team is demoralized, and our efficiency numbers are terrible. Can you do that?" I thought about the department I'd built at Harrison Enterprises, the processes I'd streamlined, the team I'd motivated. "Yes," I said confidently, "I can do that." "Why did you leave your last position?" I could have lied. I could have spun some story about seeking new challenges. Instead, I told her the truth. I was passed over for a promotion in favor of the owner's niece, despite having 3 years of proven results. I realized my contributions weren't valued, so I left. Jennifer's expression didn't change. "How did that make you feel?" "Honestly, angry, hurt, betrayed. But it also clarified something for me. I'm never again going to work somewhere that doesn't value merit over connections." She smiled. "Good answer. When can you start?" The offer came 2 days later. Better title, better pay, and most importantly, a company culture that valued performance over politics. I accepted immediately. My first day at Apex Solutions felt like stepping into a different world. The energy was different, the people were different, and most strikingly, I was treated differently. Jennifer introduced me to the team as their new director of operations, emphasizing my experience and accomplishments. No one questioned my credentials. No one suggested I needed mentoring. I was trusted to do the job I'd been hired for. The work was challenging, exactly as Jennifer had warned. The first month was a whirlwind of assessments, strategy sessions, and difficult conversations. But it was also exhilarating. I was making decisions, implementing changes, and seeing real results. And best of all, I was appreciated. 2 months in, Diana called me. "Victoria, I have news." "Let me guess. You're leaving Harrison Enterprises." She laughed. "How did you know?" "Because you're too smart to stay there. Where are you going?" "Actually, I was hoping I could come work for you. Any chance Apex Solutions needs a financial analyst?" I smiled. "Send me your resume. Let's make it happen." By the time Diana joined our team 6 weeks later, I'd already implemented 3 major system overhauls, and our efficiency numbers had improved by 23%. Jennifer pulled me aside after a board presentation to tell me I'd exceeded all their expectations. "You were worth every penny," she said. "And between you and me, we're already talking about your next promotion." The irony wasn't lost on me. At Harrison Enterprises, I'd spent 3 years begging for recognition. At Apex Solutions, I'd earned a promotion discussion in 4 months. Meanwhile, news from Harrison Enterprises filtered back through the industry grapevine. Sophie was struggling. Several major clients had left. The department I'd built was hemorrhaging employees. Gregory had tried to hire 3 different people to replace me, and none had lasted more than a month. Marcus's relationship with his father remained strained. They spoke occasionally, but the easy camaraderie they'd once shared was gone. Gregory had made his choice, and he was living with the consequences. 6 months after Diana joined our team at Apex Solutions, I received an invitation that stopped me cold. It was embossed cardstock, formal and elegant. "Gregory Harrison requests the pleasure of your company at the Harrison Enterprises Annual Awards Dinner." I stared at the invitation for a long moment, wondering what game Gregory was playing now. Marcus found me in the kitchen that evening, turning the card over in my hands. "You're not seriously considering going," he said, reading over my shoulder. "Actually, I think I am." He looked at me as if I'd suggested swimming with sharks. "Victoria, why would you put yourself through that?" "Because I'm not the same person who left that company in tears. I want to see who I've become." The dinner was held at the Grand Ballroom downtown, the same venue where I'd attended these events for 3 years running. But walking in that night, everything felt different. I wore a new dress, emerald green silk, that made me feel confident and powerful. More importantly, I carried myself differently. Jennifer had insisted on coming with me. "Moral support," she'd said, though I suspected she was also curious about the company that had been foolish enough to let me go. The cocktail hour was awkward, as I'd expected. Former colleagues approached with careful smiles and cautious conversation. Some seemed genuinely happy to see me thriving, while others appeared uncomfortable, as if my success somehow reflected poorly on their decision to stay. Brian from accounting cornered me near the bar. "Victoria, we all miss you. Things haven't been the same since you left." "How is everyone adjusting?" I asked diplomatically. "Well, Diana landing that position at Apex Solutions was great for her. And honestly, it's inspired some of us to start looking around too. Sometimes you don't realize you're settling until you see someone else refuse to." Before I could respond, the lights dimmed and Gregory took the stage. He looked older than I remembered, his silver hair thinner, his face more lined. The confident business leader I'd once respected seemed diminished somehow. "Welcome, everyone, to what has been a challenging but educational year for Harrison Enterprises," he began. "We've learned valuable lessons about adaptation, about the importance of strong leadership, and about recognizing talent wherever it may be found." His eyes found mine in the crowd, and for a moment, neither of us looked away. "This year, we're honoring employees who've shown exceptional dedication during difficult times, people who stepped up when we needed them most." The award ceremony proceeded as usual: recognition for sales achievements, customer service excellence, innovation in problem solving. But something felt forced about the whole production, as if Gregory was trying to recreate past success through sheer willpower. Then came the surprise. "Our final award tonight is new," Gregory announced. "The excellence in leadership recognition goes to someone who may no longer be with our company, but whose impact continues to shape how we do business." My stomach dropped. "Victoria Reed, would you please come to the stage?" The room erupted in applause, but I remained frozen in my seat. Jennifer nudged me gently. "Go on, this is your moment." Walking to that stage felt like the longest journey of my life. Gregory met me halfway, extending a crystal award that caught the ballroom lights. "Victoria, your dedication to excellence and your commitment to our clients set a standard that continues to inspire our team. While we're sorry to see you've moved on to new opportunities, we want to acknowledge the foundation you built here." I took the microphone, looking out at faces I'd worked alongside for 3 years. Some were smiling, others looked uncomfortable, and a few, like Sophie sitting at Gregory's family table, appeared downright mortified. "Thank you," I began, my voice steady despite my racing heart. "Working at Harrison Enterprises taught me valuable lessons about business, about relationships, and most importantly, about knowing your own worth." I paused, letting that sink in. "I've learned that loyalty is important, but it should never be one-sided. That hard work matters, but only when it's recognized and valued, and that sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself and for your career is to walk away from situations that no longer serve your growth." The applause was more scattered this time, uncertain. "I'm grateful for my time here because it led me to where I am now, at a company that values merit over politics, where ideas are heard regardless of who suggests them, and where potential isn't limited by artificial ceilings." I handed the microphone back to Gregory, whose smile had become notably strained. "Thank you again for this recognition, and to my former colleagues, remember that you have more power than you think. Use it wisely." As I walked back to my table, the silence was deafening. Then Diana started clapping, followed by Brian, then others throughout the room. Not everyone joined in, but enough did to make the message clear. After the dinner, Gregory approached our table as Jennifer and I were preparing to leave. Victoria, could I have a word? Jennifer excused herself diplomatically, leaving Gregory and me alone for the first time since my resignation. That was quite a speech, he said, his tone unreadable. It was honest. I suppose I deserved that. He looked tired, defeated in a way I'd never seen before. You know, we're restructuring the leadership team. If you ever wanted to come back... Gregory, stop. I stood up, meeting his eyes directly. 6 months ago, I might have been interested in proving something to you. Tonight, I realize I don't need to prove anything to anyone except myself. The company is struggling without you. The company is struggling because you made decisions based on family loyalty instead of business sense. That's not my problem to solve anymore. I picked up my purse and the Crystal Award, which felt surprisingly heavy in my hands. I hope things work out for Harrison Enterprises. I really do. But my chapter there is closed. Walking out of that ballroom, I felt a sense of completion I hadn't expected. The scared, overlooked woman who'd once desperately wanted Gregory's approval was gone. In her place stood someone who knew her value and wasn't afraid to demand it be recognized. Jennifer linked her arm through mine as we reached the parking garage. So, how does it feel to have the last word? I smiled, genuinely happy for the first time all evening. Like freedom. The drive home was quiet, both of us processing the evening's events. When I finally walked through my front door, Marcus was waiting with a cup of tea and a questioning look. How was it? Perfect, I said, and meant it. It was absolutely perfect. That night, I placed the Crystal Award on my bookshelf next to a photo from my first day at Apex Solutions. Two symbols of the same journey, one representing where I'd been, the other showing where I was going. The woman in that photo was confident, valued, and unafraid to take up space in the world. She was everything I'd always had the potential to be, just waiting for the right moment to emerge. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's simply becoming the person you were always meant to be. If this story of workplace triumph had you on the edge of your seat, hit that like button right now. My favorite part was when Victoria gave that powerful speech at the awards dinner, showing Gregory exactly what he lost. What was your favorite moment? Drop it in the comments below. Don't miss more empowering stories like this. Subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload.